Hello, hello, we're about to begin. Please take your seats so we can give out money. G'day everyone and welcome to the 2025 Victorian Premier's Literary Awards. I'm Benjamin Law, and as a Queenslander who's based in Sydney, it is a huge privilege to be able to present these awards tonight here on the great, sacred and ancient lands of the Kulin Nation. For tens of thousands of years, First Nations people have been telling and sharing stories and welcoming each other, and now all of us, to country. And I'd like to invite Wurundjeri Elder, Uncle Bill Nicholson, to the stage for tonight's Welcome to Country. Bill?
Thank you, Benjamin, and thank you to the very hard workers behind this very special night in celebrating literacy here in Melbourne and Victoria. Literacy is an amazing way to communicate people's experiences. We didn't actually have a written culture at Wurundjeri. We would share our stories through concepts of art, through storytelling itself and song and dance and ceremony. But either way, I always like to encourage people to share your stories, share what's important to you. The more stories that are shared, the more listening occurs, and to me, respectful listening builds mutual respect, and mutual respect builds what we call in language Jindiwarabak Balak, which is unity in the community. The Welcome to Country ceremony obviously is, I'm speaking in English right now, but in a contemporary way, it's a formal ceremonial process to allow people to conduct their business in a culturally safe place. We call it in language Tandaram Naji. And these ceremonies actually occurred just behind my right shoulder here at a place called Tromgan and Turak, which is now called the Botanical Gardens. And so it's a great sign of respect for inviting an elder or a representative of the local people to come and conduct a Welcome to Country ceremony or speech, because it's a custom of this land, and it has been a custom of this land since the beginning of time in our stories, or 65,000 years is the recent number I've heard. So thank you for that. It really means a lot concerning being welcome, which I'll touch on shortly. Waminjika, Gabamallamangil, Balabunyalabu, Wurundjeri Balak, Nirina Bill Nicholson. I welcome you here for a reason and purpose. Obviously, I've shared that with you about celebrating the awards tonight. I greet you and good day from the Wurundjeri community. My name's Uncle Bill Nicholson. I stand here proud as an elder of my community. I had to earn it, by the way. I was the youngest of 32 elders, and each one of them were seeing if I would be doing the right thing. But it was a training, it was a lesson to me. And one thing that I learnt was my people's story is an amazing story, and I encourage everyone to engage with it in some way. But one thing that it does do, it tests your emotions. Sadness and anger is part of that, but also inspiration. And I was very much inspired by my elders' strength, resilience and wisdom of the past, and our elders in the modern day that allows the Wurundjeri community to be here amongst the Melbourne community, which is obviously very multicultural today. So I acknowledge my elders past for those reasons. I also acknowledge, unfortunately, this is very sad, but sometimes we have to remind the modern community of certain things so we don't forget them. That's all the fallen clans, that's all the family groups that don't have family representation today for the many different reasons, but very locally there's quite a number. So I'd like to acknowledge all the fallen clans that don't have representation today. In Wurundjeri culture, children were taught many different things in many different ways, but two key aspects that they were taught was to understand that caring for the land and the health of the land both related to their health in a present tense and also a future for the future generations. I encourage everyone that wants to feel truly welcome to this land to take on that responsibility as well, whether you live here, visit here or work here. Also, cultural knowledge was shared based on your personality and character, and what that meant was the responsibilities were taken by children and they were tested through a process called initiation, and those responsibilities in turn both benefited everyone around them and in turn benefited them. So cultural responsibilities of looking after one another, I encourage people to take that one on as well. I acknowledge environmental leaders. And I also acknowledge community leaders here in the room, and if there's any Aboriginal community, your elders, or if you're elders yourself, I acknowledge you. Sometimes when we look at the past, there's a lot of written history that we have access to. The past is something I encourage people, when there is mistakes made and attitudes such as racial discrimination was very prevalent in the foundations of what is now Australia, let's try our very best to eradicate that attitude once and for all, because healthy country, it doesn't quite work unless there's a healthy social community on that country. So we can achieve these things. We can really lead the world in attitude, and we can really lead the world concerning understanding of all of our connections to this land and to each other. The Welcome to Country ceremony is a law. There's many aspects to it. It's like a passport, I guess. Smoking ceremony is a key part of it. We're a very spiritual culture. It's a symbolisation of spiritual cleansing of Murat Balak, spirit of people, and Murat Biik, spirit of the land. No fires up here today, obviously, but I'd just like people to understand, to feel truly welcome to Wurundjeri land. If my ancestors were standing here right now, I think they would say that the respect of the land, the people of the land and the culture of the land is part of our law, which was never ceded. And like I said at the very start, I feel that respect by being invited here tonight. So I'd like to say on behalf of myself and my ancestors and my community, Wiminjika Wurundjeri Biik, which is welcome Wurundjeri country to you all, and congratulations to the upcoming award winners and all the participants. So Nun Gudjin, thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Erin Vincent and I am the CEO of the Wheeler Centre. Thank you, Uncle Bill, for that generous welcome to country. I too would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of this Wurundjeri land and recognise our First Peoples as Australia's first storytellers and creators of culture, which we are so privileged to share. Welcome to the 2025 Victorian Premier's Literary Awards. I'd like to thank the brilliant Benjamin Law for being our wonderful host this evening. These awards, as many of you know, can change a writer's life, and this year marks their 40th anniversary. For 40 years, these awards have honoured and celebrated writers, and those of you who have been shortlisted and highly commended have created work that has moved, informed and provoked us all, and I congratulate each of you on your exceptional storytelling. This year, we are so thrilled to be introducing a new award, the John Clarke Prize for Humour Writing. It is really serendipitous for me to be in this role for the creation of this new category. Before joining the Wheeler Centre, I worked in the news division at the ABC, and for a brief time, I found myself as an acting executive producer of the inimitable Clarke and Dawe program. What this really meant was that I had the joyous honour of occasionally choosing which episode would air when there were two equally hilarious, piercing scripts that John and Brian couldn't quite separate. It was a very serious process, usually judged by how hard I laughed by reading their brilliant work. Throughout this time, I was very fortunate to get to know John. He became a colleague I loved chatting with and always walked away from feeling better, warmer and smarter. He had so many wonderful qualities, not least of all his love of a good long chat, and his ability to make everyone feel as though what you thought truly mattered to him and that he had all the time in the world to hear it, despite he, like all of us, working to tight deadlines. It was as though the world was John's focus group, one which so brilliantly informed his humour and his incisive 2.5-minute take on politics every Thursday night. I can still hear that opening theme in my head. In 2017, when John passed away, I was asked to lead a small team to produce a documentary of John's life and incredible legacy. The program named itself John Clarke, Thanks for Your Time. It was the most watched program on the ABC that year, a testament to the public's deep affection for him. John was a truly gifted writer. a wordsmith that cut through the noise and connected with people through his craft. And so a literary award in his honour is only fitting. And I am so pleased John's family is here with us tonight for this important moment. The Wheeler Centre is so proud to deliver the Victorian Premier's Literary Awards on behalf of the Victorian Government. Through these awards, the state government delivers $315,000 in prize money to deserving Australian authors. It's an incredible investment in Australia's literary future. And it is my great pleasure that we are joined tonight by the CEO of Creative Victoria, Claire Phoebe. Claire, thank you to you and the incredible team at Creative Victoria for the tireless work that you do to support Victoria's arts sector. I'd also like to welcome Matt Carrick, Secretary of the Department of Jobs, Skills, Industry and Regions. I'm delighted we are also joined by former Arts Minister and current Chair of MAPCO, Martin Foley. It's great to have you here with us. And I'd also like to welcome our patron, Tony Wheeler, who, along with Maureen, so generously gave Victoria the Wheeler Centre and understood before any of us that Melbourne, as a UNESCO City of Literature, would wholeheartedly embrace it. To Victoria Sorborough, Acting Director at the City of Melbourne, thank you and your team for your ongoing support. I'd also like to welcome the Wheeler Centre's terrific board, including our Acting Chair, Charman Sidju. Thank you all for your dedication. The Wheeler Centre's former chair, Susan Oliver, is also here with us tonight, which is great. I would also like to extend my thanks to the Wheeler Centre's long-standing partners who have helped make tonight's celebration so special. Thank you to our friends at The Edge, Fed Square, for our beautiful venue, our wine sponsor, Montalto, our accommodation partner, the Sofitel on Collins, and Readings, our bookseller this evening. I also want to thank RMIT Culture for supporting the winner of the Unpublished Manuscript category with a 2-week residency at McRae House on Mornington Peninsula. Finally, thank you to the passionate and dedicated team at the Wheeler Centre, in particular Xanthia O'Connor, who works tirelessly behind the scenes year-round to make this event happen. And to our judges, we sincerely thank you for committing your time and energy to this process. To the winners of the Main Suite Awards, the prizes for fiction, non-fiction, drama, poetry, Indigenous writing, children's literature, writing for humour and writing for young adults, you will each receive $25,000 tonight. The winner of the award for an unpublished manuscript also receives $15,000 in prize money. The People's Choice Award winner will receive $2,000 following a public call-out for votes. And the main category winners go on to contest the overall Victorian Prize for Literature worth an additional $100,000. And we should all be so proud that this is the single richest literary award in the country. And now it is my great pleasure to welcome CEO of Creative Victoria, Claire Phoebe, to the stage.
Thank you, Erin, and thank you so much, Bill, for that incredibly warm welcome. I also would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands that we're on tonight, the Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung people, pay respects to elders past and present, and also acknowledge all First Peoples in the room with us tonight. As we gather here tonight, we're celebrating the continuous culture of storytelling on this land, spanning thousands of generations. And also the First Nations writers who inspire us today with their stories, their truth-telling, their poetry, and the powerful words they share with us. Good evening. It's wonderful to be here with you. Thank you very much, Erin. I want to acknowledge the Wheeler Centre Board. Also Tony Wheeler, who along with Maureen remain the great friends and champions and dedicated patrons of the Wheeler Centre. Also acknowledge Matt, Secretary of our department, Lauren Clarke and family, but particularly Lauren, who will later present the inaugural John Clarke Prize for Humour Writing in honour of your late father and great satirist, John Clarke. Can I also acknowledge the hard-working judges here with us tonight, all of our special guests from across Australia's publishing and literary community, and I'd particularly like to acknowledge family and friends of the late John Marsden who are joining us tonight. And of course, our incredible shortlisted writers and your friends and family. Welcome to you all. The Minister for Creative Industries, Colin Brooks, has asked me to step in as he's a little held up at Parliament this evening. And together with the Premier, Jacinta Allen, he sends his sincere congratulations to all of tonight's shortlisted writers. Creative Victoria has enjoyed a long and collaborative working relationship with the Wheeler Centre since its inception, including in delivering these awards. So it really is an honour to speak briefly tonight. Tonight we're coming together in Melbourne, our UNESCO City of Literature, to celebrate writing in its many forms, whether it's a novel or a hard-hitting journalistic work, a poem, a play, or a book for young readers. Good writing is important to us on a personal level, and it's fundamental to our society. I feel very confident saying that in this room, a room full of writers and book lovers, publishers, booksellers. But given the world today, I think it's a message that we need to say loudly and often. Writers contribute so much to our society. Through your craft, you help us connect and understand one another. You uncover truths. You make us ask questions. You help us to learn. You make us laugh and cry and open up our hearts and imaginations. It's a remarkable, well-honed skill, and it's an even greater gift that you share with all of us. People are their stories, and societies are too, and that's why it's so important to back our literature sector. This year, as Erin said, the Victorian Premier's Literary Awards celebrates 40 years. Over the years, these awards have honoured the contribution and achievements of our writers, from local literary icons to brand new voices. I know the Minister was especially excited about the Unpublished Manuscript Award, which uncovers new Victorian literary talent, and I'll have the privilege later of sharing news about that award. This award has launched the careers of incredible Victorian writers, many, too many to name, but for example, Jane Harper, Maxine Beneba-Clark, and Melanie Cheng, who's also nominated tonight. So many more, but an extraordinary track record. I know the Victorian Government is proud to back these awards, and the team at Creative Victoria is incredibly proud of their 40-year legacy. I would like to thank Erin and the board and the entire Wheeler Centre team for their hard work in delivering this program, and especially to the judges for your time and thoughtfulness and care that you put into this important task. But now to each of the shortlisted writers here tonight, congratulations on everything you have achieved. Bringing a book or a script to life is an extraordinary endeavour. It takes hard work, determination, courage, and of course, imagination. As I mentioned earlier, Premier Jacinta Allen could not be here with us tonight, but she sent us a recorded message, so I'll throw to that now, and thank you so much and enjoy the evening.
Hi, I'm Jacinta Allen, Premier of Victoria, and I'm thrilled to welcome you to the Victorian Premier's Literary Awards. I wish I could be there tonight to celebrate the best of Victorian writing, but I wanted to send this message with a very special announcement. Last year, we said goodbye to a giant of the literary world. John Marsden touched so many lives with his incredible gift for storytelling. He had a huge impact on young readers in Victoria, across Australia and around the world. John won a Premier's Literary Award in 1988 for his very first book, So Much to Tell You. It's one that I loved. And it's fitting that tonight I can announce that the Victorian Premier's Literary Award for Writing for Young Adults will be renamed the John Marsden Award. It's a way for us to honour his enormous contribution to writing in this country and this state. Tonight, we also celebrate the legacy of another hugely influential Victorian writer as we present the very first John Clarke Prize for Humour Writing, recognising his legacy. Congratulations to everyone who is nominated for these awards. Thank you to the Wheeler Centre, the judges and everyone who's been involved over the past 40 years. Enjoy the celebrations.
Thank you so much again to Uncle Bill for that generous welcome to country. Big thanks also to Erin Vincent, Claire Phoebe and Premier Jacinta Allen for sharing that exciting news. As we've heard, we do have the family and friends of the late, great John Marsden here with us tonight. And I know I'm not alone in this room when I say that John Marsden and his work meant so much to me in his capacity as an author, as an educator, and as a patron of VoiceWorks, which forged the career of so many Australian writers in Victoria and beyond. So to those loved ones of John Marsden, thank you so much for joining us here tonight. And I too would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land, the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung people of the Kulin Nation, and extend my respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, authors, readers, supporters here tonight. We are about to announce the winners of the 2025 Victorian Premiers Literary Awards, which honours literary achievement by Australian writers across the country. But first, some housekeeping. Accessible toilets are just outside the rear doors of the venue. This event is being live streamed and recorded. If you're watching from home, thanks for joining us. And also, Melbourne-based Auslan interpreters were sadly not available this evening, but we are pleased to, of course, provide remote interpreters to my left and on our live stream. One more thing, tonight you're obviously going to hear about books you love and books that you're gonna love, and you can take all of them home with you tonight. In fact, you all have to take every single one of them with you tonight. All the shortlisted books are on sale at the back through our bookseller, the beloved local institution, and icons that are readings. You may also be able to chase down tonight's shortlistees and winners to have your copy signed, but once they are on Collins Street, that's a no-go zone. Writers, we have very active imaginations and we will assume the worst. So, our first category for this evening is the prize for Best Unpublished Manuscript. Previous winners have included Graham Simpson, Maxine Beneba Clark, Jane Harper, Melanie Cheng, and Andre Dow. The winner of the prize will receive $15,000 in prize money, and they will also receive a 2-week residency at Macrae House on the Mornington Peninsula, thanks to RMIT Culture. This year, the judges were Keish Chow, Marina Sano, and the convener was Adalia Nash Hussain. The shortlisted titles are Every Stolen Moment by L.K. Williams, Heavy Petting by Kat Capel, and I Made This Just For You by Chris Ames, with a highly commended title, Nina and Pearl by Fleur Glenn. And now we welcome back Claire Phoebe, CEO of Creative Victoria, to announce the winner.
I'm very pleased to share that the winner of the category for Unpublished Manuscript is I Made This Just For You by Chris Ames.
Wow. My haters and rivals, many of which are here this evening, have tried to discredit this award, pointing to the slightly oxymoronic quality of best unpublished, saying that's like being what, like the most conventionally attractive person at a speed dating mixer, or like being the most ornately decorated piece of fish still rotating alone on the sushi train. But I strongly disagree. I'll tell you the same thing I tell my wife when she questions my incessant high-risk sports betting. It actually takes a tremendous amount of courage to put money on an underdog. So I'd like to thank my fellow underdogs on the shortlist, Kat and LK, two supremely talented people who very easily and deservedly could be standing here instead of me. I can't wait to buy and read your books. I'd like to acknowledge the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung people of the Kulin Nation, whose unceded and stolen land I'm so lucky to write upon. I'd like to thank the judges and everyone at the Wheeler Center, especially Aaron and Xanthia and DM. Were it not for the Hot Desk Fellowship, I wouldn't be here at all. I'd like to thank my agent, Alex, who flew here this evening and either genuinely believes or does a very convincing impression of believing that there is still a market for short story collection in the year of our Lord 2025. And lastly, but also contractually, I'd like to thank my wife, who's currently pregnant with our second child, and by any conceivable metric, developing a much more rewarding work in progress than I'll ever be able to. Thanks for laughing at my jokes, not just right now, but also over the last 10 years. I love you. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Congratulations, Chris, on so many levels, for so many reasons, and for the reminder that spite and vengeance is a perfectly legitimate motivator to write a new work. Our next category for tonight is the People's Choice Award. Previous winners have included Hannah Kent, Anthony Lowenstein, Anna Crean, Bree Lee, and Louise Milligan. You might have heard of them. The winner of the People's Choice Award is selected by the Australian public, with people voting for their favourite shortlisted or highly commended work published in 2024. The winner of this award will receive $2,000 from the Wheeler Centre, and here's Erin Vincent to present the winner.
The winner of the People's Choice Award is I'd Rather Not by Robert Skinner.
Is this cash? Thank you. I love the title of this award, People's Choice. Makes it seem like the other awards have been adjudicated by donkeys or wombats. One of the things that I've been most proud of my book is the sort of the different people who have contacted me to tell me that they loved it. You know, 70-year-old lesbians and Western Australian mechanics and shy little non-binary forest creatures who sort of come to the counter at the bookshop where I work. It can often be frustrating, the feeling that literature is not as central to Australian culture as it is in, say, France or Ireland, South American countries, or Iceland, where I stayed for a while and was reliably informed that at any one time, 1/3 of the population had published an erotic novel. And so I used to run a short story magazine called The Canary Press, and that was kind of our mission for a long time. And we did it mostly by throwing large, elaborate, undignified and boozy parties. And we got people very interested in literature, but they often forgot about it the next morning. My own writing, I had a lucky start. I was writing for The Monthly, and so I got to write for a fairly significant readership for an often life-saving $1 a word, and also benefited from very careful editing. The main editor there, Nick, had a wonderful ability to make you feel as though a piece had to be written and you were the only person that could write it. I once mentioned in passing the Cooperative Golf Course, which is sort of just fields of rocks and desert, and they've got a sort of comic sign there that says "Keep off the grass." And I got an email from one of the editors with a picture attached that said, I think it says keep off grass. And I said, well, you've cost me $1, but I appreciate the diligence. Unfortunately, that diligence has extended all the way to my book publishers, Black Ink, who have demonstrated the same annoying care, commitment and dedication to every step of the publishing process. And I thank you. I thank my friends and family without whom I couldn't have done it. And I also thank the vague group known as the People. And if there is a donkey or wombat's choice, then I would love to be considered for that one also. Thank you.
Congratulations, Robert, for winning the award, for always being the consistently most fun person at any writers' festival, and also for bringing back safari suits, because these garments are not okay for the Australian climate. That is correct, what you're wearing. Our next category is the prize for children's literature, and this year the judges were Bernard Kallio, Denise Chapman, and the convener was Julianne Negri. The shortlisted titles are Listen Hippo by Gabriel Evans, published by Penguin Random House Australia, The 113th Assistant Librarian by Stuart Wilson, published by Penguin Random House Australia, The Midwatch by Judith Rossell, published by Hardy Grant Children's Publishing, Three Dresses by Wanda Gibson, published by University of Queensland Press, with highly commended titles How to Free a Djinn by Radha Shard Idil by Alan and Unwin, Squish Book, Make Comics with Squish Face Studio and Friends, edited by David Blumenstein, containing works by numerous cartoonists and Kensington Primary School students, published by Squishface Studio. Erin is going to announce the winner.
The winner of the prize for children's literature is Three Dresses by Wanda Gibson. Unfortunately, Wanda can't be with us in person tonight, but we're delighted her son Bruce Gibson has travelled to be here to accept the honour on her behalf. While Bruce makes his way here, here's a few words from Wanda from her hometown of Hopevale in Far North Queensland.
Hello, my name is Wanda Gibson. I am the author of the children's storybook called Three Dresses. I'd like to thank Claire, Maggie and Jasmine and all those people who helped and supported me with this book. Sorry I couldn't be there to accept my award. Once again, I would like to thank the judges and those who voted for me. Thank you all very, very much.
First of all, I want to pay my respects to the Wurundjeri people. Mum is I'm quite proud of her, anyway. I don't think she's proud of me, but... Mum is a Nukulwara woman from the Kukuyimidi Nation up in Cape York. So we've travelled this far. Mum is a grandmother. She started art about 20 years ago, painting didgeridoos, and I remember helping her in the bush and chopping trees to bark trees, and then we'd spend my holidays sanding the didgeridoos, and then she'd paint it and all this sort of stuff. So it started way back when I was a kid. Over the years, she returned to art with the Gumba Gumba group, which is Gumba Gumba in our language is the old ladies. So all the Gumba Gumba went down to the art centre and started painting, and they're quite successful. But Mum has always, and as Bill said, stories stories have been a big part of Indigenous culture. Mum has told us stories, and of our grandfathers, and my grandfather's told me stories, and they still exist in our hearts, and that's how we communicate, and we ensure that the right information is passed on to our children, and that through stories and love and all that, which she has no doubt given to our family. So I'd like to thank Mum because I'd done nothing, for taking the chance and working with her editors and QPU. I think I got it right. The other way, yeah, that way. For backing her, and I'm sure that she's sitting at home. I can see her now, sitting on her couch, tears running down her face, with all her grandkids around her, and telling her, "Mum, you got more money than us now." Thank you so much.
I love that speech. Congratulations to Wanda and the family. And I think a lot of us here in this room either have children or have children in our lives, and I think 3 dresses will be an easy thing to pick up on the way home. Let's see if we can sell out all the copies. Our next category is Prize for Writing for Young Adults, and previous winners include Runda Abdel Fattah, Amberlynn Kwai-Mulliner and Lily Wilkinson. This year the judges were Alison Evans, Rebecca Lim, and the convener was Kath Moore. The shortlisted titles are Anomaly by Emma Lord, published by Affirm Press. Liar's Test by Amberlynn Kwai-Mulliner, published by Text Publishing. Smoke and Mirrors by Barry Johnsberg, published by Allen and Unwin. With highly commended titles, One by One They Disappear by Mike Lucas, published by Penguin Random House Australia, and The Skin I'm In by Steph Tisdale, published by Pan Macmillan Australia. Erin, take it away.
And the winner of the prize for writing for young adults is Anomaly by Emma Lord.
I guess this means it wasn't a clerical error, which is a relief. Before I start, I just wanted to say that my book wouldn't be what it is if I hadn't picked up a copy of Tomorrow When the War Began when I was 14 years old. So to win the first iteration of it as the John Marsden Award is very special. Can't see it. I'd like to start by thanking Uncle Bill for the welcome to Wurundjeri country. It's an honour to be here. I'd like to thank the Premier, the Wheeler Centre and Creative Victoria. A huge thank you to the judges for their time and effort and for bringing me to this moment. The majority of my writing life is spent at my desk wearing pyjama pants covered in Cheeto dust, so this is a step up. It is an honour I don't take lightly, given the incredible shortlisted and highly commended titles. And I would like to acknowledge Amberlynn Kwai-Mulliner, Barry Johnsberg, Steph Tisdale and Mike Lucas, as well as their exceptional books. While our stories are very different, they all tackle pretty heavy thematic territories, be it grief, tyranny, trauma, or what it takes to survive in an increasingly dangerous world. And when I'm asked why I choose to write for young adults, my primary answer is that I'm still working through the horrors of having been one once upon a time, and writing about it is cathartic. But it is also because I believe in the value of stories that enable younger readers to explore the darker possibilities of our world from a distance. but also give us as writers a chance to find the crack that lets the light in. Not with easy answers, but by offering up what we believe and what we take hope in. I'd like to thank everyone at a firm, in particular my editor, Meg Whelan, who took a bonkers blob of a manuscript and helped make it make sense. I'm thrilled she'll be doing that again. Thank you to Coral Huckstep, Melissa Keel, Tash Besliev, Ari Ryan, Julia Cathro, Georgie Sweeting, Susie Kennywell, and a firm's fantastic sales team. To the many wonderful booksellers who embraced my story and pressed it into the hands of readers, and the reviewers and bookstagrammers who spread the word. Thank you for embracing an Australian debut. Thank you to my friends and family, in particular my nieces, who became renegade bookstore ninjas this year and always made sure I normally was facing out. Apologies to everyone else. And finally, thank you to my husband Brendan and my daughter Allegra, who were by my side the whole time this story was taking shape and who bring the light in for me every day. Thank you.
Congratulations, Emma. And as a former bookseller myself, I really approve of that move of shifting out the cover of your favourite book out for the public to see. It's a classic. Our next category is the Prize for Drama. Previous winners have included Patricia Cornelius, Lally Katz, Angus Serini, Michelle Lee, and Leah Purcell. This year, the judges were Dan Giovanni, Vidya Rajan, and the convener was Richard Watts. And the shortlisted works are 37 by Nathan Maynard, published by Currency Press. 37 was commissioned and developed through Melbourne Theatre Company's Next Stage Writers Program and co-produced by Melbourne Theatre Company and Queensland Theatre. Frame Narrative by Emily Sheehan, produced by New Ghosts Theatre Company and staged at the Old Fitz Theatre. Into the Shimmering World by Angus Serini, developed and premiered by Sydney Theatre Company. Erin.
The winner of the prize for drama is 37 by Nathan Maynard.
I'll skip my phone out where I wrote some notes down. No, that's to my mum. That's better, that's me. Whoa, I hate this stuff, to be honest with you. I like it when I've had half a dozen beers in me, but I've only had 5. That's not it again. Thank you to Uncle Bill for your welcome and to the Wurundjeri for having me on your country. It means a lot. Thank you to the judges for picking 37, and just quietly, I think you made a good choice. Thank you to the Melbourne Theatre Company for commissioning 37, commissioning the writing of 37. Thank you to the Melbourne Theatre Company and the Queensland Theatre Companies for producing the productions of 37. Thank you to my brother boy Isaac Drandic for your masterful direction. Thank you, Monica Blanco, for your exquisite choreography. Thank you to the cast for your wonderful performances and leaving your DNA in the characters you played. Thank you, Adam Goods, for being the staunch warrior you are and the inspiration for this story. And thank you to Annette Downs, my little mentor in Tassie. You are the person who believes I had it in me to write a play. Now 11 plays deep, and here I am standing in front of a bunch of sexy writing mofos. Accepted an award for a story I wrote, and I didn't even pass grade 10 English. The takeaway here is that it takes one person to believe in you. Be that person and believe in someone.
Congratulations, Nathan. That was awesome. And can someone get him a beer by the time this finishes tonight? I know there's beer up there. Just bring it down. He's right here. He's right here. Our next category is the Prize for Poetry. Previous winners have included Maxine Beneba Clark, David Savinger, and Grace Yee. This year, the judges were Evelyn Araluan, Michaela Saha, and convener was Emily Collier. And the shortlisted books are Gawamara Gathering by Janine Lane, published by University of Queensland Press. Holocene Point Breaks by Jake Gertz, published by Puncher and Watman. Rock Flight by Hasib Hurani, published by Giramondo Publishing. With highly commended titles, Nag Mountain by Manisha Anjali, published by Giramondo Publishing. GD Sleep and Chaos, Alan Fife, published by Gazebo Books, Life Before Man. Erin.
The winner of the prize for poetry, Gawamara Gathering by Janine Lane.
Yay, thanks. I haven't even said anything, haven't started. Okay, Yuru Demarang. Yuandu Janine Waratri Yina Maran Bijadi. Hello, my name is Janine and I'm a Wiradjuri woman from Murrumbidgee River. I would like to acknowledge that I'm here tonight in the lands of the Wurundjeri people of the East Kulin Nations, and I want to pay my respects to the elders, past and present, for their continued care of the lands and waters of Naarm, and to acknowledge the privilege of having lived and worked here for the past 9 years. Special thanks to Uncle Bill for that beautiful welcome. I'd also like to acknowledge other First Nations people who are here this evening, and I'd like to acknowledge everyone who's here this evening. Mandangu, thank you for coming. And I want to acknowledge my Wiradjuri ancestors, without whom I wouldn't be here, and who gave me the stories that make the gathering of this book and that make the bedrock of most of my writing, really. Thank you to University of Queensland Press for publishing the book, especially Aviva Tuffield, to my editors, Ian C., Yasmin Smith and Alan Van Neven, who worked on this book at various stages. Thanks to my friends, some of you are here tonight and some who couldn't be, for believing in me and for encouraging me to keep on going with this gathering. I like what Nathan said, you just need one person, and I had a few, so I'm grateful for that. And for my family, who have always been here for me. Peter and Hugo are here tonight, but I'd also like to acknowledge Jerome and Lily and Eugene and Jade, who aren't. I'd like to congratulate the other shortlisted and winning authors, writers here tonight, but I'd especially like to acknowledge Hasib and Jake, who were on the shortlist, and it was an incredible shortlist, and it's an honour to be here. Thank you to the judges who worked so hard, and to the Premier's Department for your generous suite of awards that recognises the importance of Australian literary culture, and to the Wheeler Centre for convening it, and to all the judges who gave up their time and their expertise for the awards. Gawamara was written, Gawamara is a Wiradjuri word for gathering, and it was written as a gathering, life's gathering, of the wisdom and the histories that I was gifted by Black women and people more broadly, and who are the bedrock of the country. And these stories, these are the stories that the national histories still fail to record. And so that's the important work that literature does, especially black literature. And it was also written to acknowledge the state of the nation that we all share now and hopefully going forward. I'd just like to take this moment to acknowledge all poets in such times as a destabilised future yawns before us. And in an epidemic of rage and what sometimes seems like hopelessness, and in an age of misinformation, where genocide's happening in Gaza, in Europe, where the rights of minorities across race, religion, class, sexuality, identity and ability are under threat by oppressive regimes at home, right here under our noses and abroad. And when censorship seeks to silence minorities and truth-tellers, poetry in particular, literature more broadly, does the important, essential work that governments and the media and history don't do, or don't do very well. Yep. I want to acknowledge the importance of poetry in these times and the vital role that poets play in writing all times, and to say thank you for recognising my work, for playing a small part in this. Mandanguru means thank you. Yindi Amara. Respect to everyone.
Congratulations again, Janine. We're very lucky to have you. Our next category is the Prize for Indigenous Writing. Previous winners have included Tara June Winch, Larissa Berendt, Tony Birch, and Melissa Lukashenko. This year, the judges were Crystal De Napoli, Susie Anderson, and the convener was Tristan Harwood. And the shortlisted works are Afloat by Kiralee Saunders and Freya Blackwood, published by Hardy Grant Children's Publishing. Black Witness by Amy McGuire, published by University of Queensland Press. I'm Not Really Here by Gary Lonesborough, published by Allen and Unwin. Refugia by Elfie Shiosaki, published by Mugabala Books. With highly commended titles, Always Will Be by Michaela Saunders, published by University of Queensland Press. Makara by Barina South, published by Recent Work Press. This Is Where You Have to Go by Linda Holden, published by Pantera Press. Erin.
And the winner of the prize for Indigenous writing is Black Witness by Amy McGuire.
Thank you so much. First of all, I'd also like to thank you, Uncle Bill, for your generous welcome, and I'd like to pay my respects to the Wurundjeri peoples, pay my respect to their continuing sovereignty and the sovereignty of all First Nations people. Also acknowledge all the amazing writers in this category. It's a really hard category to win, as we've seen just in our winners tonight. I'd also like to thank UQP, Aviva Tuffield, ENC, for your support in this book, and the judges. Also my family, Rhonda and Sterling, my partner Norbert, and my children. This book is about how the imperial media suppresses the voices of Black witnesses. It's about how they're witnessing on violence, their testimonies on pain and grief and trauma, and their active resistances in all its forms are silenced and never recognised unless legitimised, watered down, or co-opted by the white witness. And so many of these stories in this book are stories that I worked upon over 20 years, and including families that I still have relationships with. And at the heart of it, it's about the fight against what this colonial state is, the aspiration of this colonial state. And it's always predicated on disappearing Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples from Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander lands in every single form. And when I was coming down here today, I just kept thinking of a wonderful woman I met a couple of years ago, Veronica Nelson's mother, Auntie Donna. And I just kept thinking about this continual thing that keeps happening where Aboriginal women are continually being disappeared in so many different ways, being disappeared into jails. And there's a keen connection between criminalisation and what happens afterwards in relation to the violence that's continually perpetrated. And the reason that I wrote this book is to say that the mainstream media is not just sitting idly by, they're not just reporting objectively about this. They're directly complicit in the continuing violence that we're seeing here, not just on Wurundjeri country, Darumbal country, where I'm from, all different Aboriginal nations, not just here, but overseas in Gaza. I want to extend my condolences to all Palestinian people here today, given the massacre we have seen just yesterday. I've started calling it imperial media because I can't see it as anything else. And when you start seeing that the print media has been so complicit in every single injustice we have seen against Indigenous peoples in the past, present, and in the future, you begin to see what the media is orientated towards. And I really want to dedicate this award to a Black witness who I owe so much of my reporting to, and that's Uncle Tiger Bales. He was a legend of Black media. He was a phenomenal Black witness. He's basically the embodiment of where I think Black media should be going for. So thank you so much. I just want to end from the river to the sea, always was, always will be. Thank you.
Congratulations, Amy. Thank you for your words. Thank you for your work. Our next category is the inaugural John Clarke Prize for Humour Writing. This year, the judges were Lauren Clark, Patrick Lenton, and the convener was Sami Shah. The shortlisted works are Detachable Penis, a queer legal saga by Sam Elkin, published by Upswell Publishing. Ghost Cities by Xiang Lu, published by University of Queensland Press. I'd Rather Not by Robert Skinner, published by Black Ink. My Brother's Ashes Are in a Sandwich Bag, Michelle Brazier, published by Ultimo Press. And The Medusa Situation by Gabby-Ann Marin by Clandestine Press. As we've heard before, this is a brand new award in honour of the late, great comic legend John Clarke. And here to speak about the prize and to announce the winner is John Clarke's daughter, Lauren Clarke. Please make her welcome.
Thank you very much. And you are doing an excellent job too. Thank you so much. My family is here tonight, my mum, Helen, my sister, Lucia, and we would also, of course, like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land and the beautiful words that were spoken by Uncle Bill at the start of this evening about all of the different types of storytelling that we're able to celebrate here this evening. I have to say, I did not know what the process was like of creating a whole new category of something. And, you know, I've heard that cliche that things like this just don't happen by themselves, and apparently it is quite true. Just quickly, I want to thank the Premier and the government for putting money behind the arts and behind writing and storytelling of all different kinds. The Minister who's here, the Honourable Colin Brooks, who, like the best of us, comes from the Honourable Greensborough, which is a literary hamlet just out of Melbourne. And Claire Phoebe, who shepherded us through the process as well, the wonderful Erin, who runs the show, but also who's sort of part of the family now, whether she likes it or not, and everybody at the Wheeler Centre and who organised this to happen. I just want to quickly tell you, even though she's not here this evening, there is a woman called Kay Setchers who, if you don't know, you should know of her. She's big in the sort of labour movement, and she, basically, I was minding my own business, eating cheese at a Story Gatherers Festival at Phillip Island when she came up and shirt-fronted me and told me that this was going to happen. And I said, "Is that right?" Not knowing who she was, and then I got to witness her make it happen. She demanded that everybody not only listen to us, but do it now and do it properly and smile and stand up straight. And tell you what, that was the best show on television that I saw last year. James Kenyon also deserves thanks, particularly because Kay would call him up. Kay's quite getting on in years. She would call him up and say to him, "I'm going to die before this happens, and that's going to be on your conscience." So, and then one time he did call her and she had to excuse herself just briefly and say, "I'm terribly sorry, I'm just getting put in the back of an ambulance." So the fact that the thing happened is thanks to a woman who stands behind the scenes and quietly gets very cross at all of these very clever people here until things happen. So thank you to her, thank you to you, thank you to everybody here this evening. And we were particularly, the family was particularly thrilled that this award could happen in Victoria, because that's where my dad, our dad, this is where he kind of learnt to write. He performed in New Zealand a lot, but he sort of learnt to write here, and he met his kind of creative crew here. And so we hope that this is going to encourage more of that kind of malarkey. So without further ado, I'm going to award this, and the prize goes to I'd Rather Not by Robert Skinner.
My last one of these was empty. I don't know if that's a problem. I didn't get around to writing a second speech. But it's a great honour to be associated with the John Clarke Award. I think he's someone who, one of the great delights of his work was that you would see a brilliant mind at play. And sometimes I think in these quite serious times, play can seem like an abdication of duty, when in fact it might be what these times call for the most. And I realise just now that I've gotten more solemn for the Humour Award speech than I have for the other one. My book, so so there are many keen players in the Black Ink team. Sophie, for instance, very cunningly took me out for drinks when I was dallying on the manuscript, and she said, if we get this out before you're 40, we can still market you as a young writer. And which turned out to be the impetus that I needed. But I'd like to single out praise for my editor and publisher. I first hitched my wagon to the silver stallion that is Chris Fike about 8 years ago, and I promised him a book 7 years ago. We did the calculations on one of the chapters in the story and realised that I'd been proceeding at a rate of 1 word per day. Writing a book in Australia, I think, is a bit like camping in the rain. It's tolerable because you can imagine a homecoming. A warm bed, a fire, a clothes dryer. And to publish a book is to realise that you'll be camping forever. that there is no home. I've had many people congratulate me on the success of the book, and I've said, thank you. Are you going to eat both of those samosas? My publishers, I asked my publishers how they thought it was going, and they said it's wildly exceeding expectations. And I said, how low were your expectations? Yes, I'm incredibly grateful for the prize, for the honour to be here with the Clarke family, and for the money. Seven years looks like, it felt like tardiness at the time, but to receive the John Clarke Award seems now like perfect timing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lauren. Congratulations, Robert, again. We can see a pattern forming, can't we? Our next category is the prize for non-fiction. Previous winners have included Ellen Van Neerven, Amani Haider, Behrooz Boochani and Sarah Krasenstein. This year the judges were Ben Brooker, Jinghua Qian, Madison Griffiths, Robin Anea, and the convener was Jonathan Green. And the shortlisted works are A Very Secret Trade by Cassandra Pybus, published by Allen and Unwin. Anything Can Happen by Susan Hampton, published by Puncher and Watman. Monument by Bonnie Cassidy, published by Giramondo Publishing. Naku Daruk, The Bark Petitions, How the People of Yirrkala Changed the Course of Australian Democracy by Claire Wright, published by Text Publishing. The Lasting Harm, Witnessing the Trial of Ghislaine Maxwell by Lucia Osborne Crowley, published by Allen and Unwin. With highly commended titles, Peripathetic, Notes on Unbelonging by Cher Tan, published by New South Publishing. Yeah. Cactus Pear for My Beloved by Samar Sabawi, published by Penguin Random House Australia. Erin.
And the winner of the prize for non-fiction is Anything Can Happen by Susan Hampton.
I started out my writing life as a performance poet. It seems 100 years ago, writing short pieces, often about people on Stockton, where I spent part of my childhood, across the river from Newcastle. It was then a manual workers' suburb. And earlier this evening, we heard the word bedrock, and I think that working class background was the bedrock of my writing. Most of the writers I met were middle class, and so it was strange at first fitting into that world. The largely unrecorded lives of the people on Stockton did contain a surprising amount of poetry. They seemed to invent metaphor easily and spontaneously. All the men had nicknames, witty and even cruel, like Wok-Eye, who had jealous eyes because one eye was always watching the other, Scaly Tom, Wormbait. They worked as fishermen who went to sea every day, even in big swells. Some had never been taught to swim. 3 generations of the men in my family worked shifts at the BHP, hard, noisy, dirty work, heavy drinkers who joked around and tried to have fun. I wrote about Bessie Ferris, who put a ferret up her sleeve and went into the Gladstone Hotel to frighten and amuse the men at the bar. Later, I married at 19, and my response to having a baby at the age of 20 was a great need to study. I enrolled at university and have been writing ever since. And though my life changed radically when I later moved to inner Sydney and encountered women's liberation and activism, lots of Indigenous people, performance poets and Mardi Gras, and though there are plenty of lesbians in my books, and though I now had a radical freedom, I knew the origin of my writing was the working class where I had grown up. While I was studying 16th century poetry at Sydney Uni, I recalled that my father at 14 had been ploughing with one horse, with his brother walking along behind him, dropping corn seed into the furrow. I'm an example of someone for whom scholarships and grants and prizes were vital in my progress as a writer. I want to thank my publisher, David Musgrave of Puncher and Watman. That screen has gone, but I think the only small publisher in that group that I was in. I want to thank Jacinta Allen and her government for the award, and Jonathan Green, the convener of the judges for non-fiction, and the other 4 judges, for seeing what they saw in my writing. It means a lot to me. And I thank my wife, Charlotte, and the many friends and colleagues who supported my work, thus helping me prove that anything can happen. Thank you.
Congratulations, Susan. And just for an added bit of excitement, there is one person in the audience with a ferret up their sleeve right now, and we will find out by the end of the evening. Our next category is Prize for Fiction. Previous winners include Christos Chalkis, Gillian Mees, Melanie Cheng, Melissa Lukashenko, and Laura Jean Mackay. This year the judges were Jessica Au, Ronnie Scott, Tali Lavi, and the convener was Elizabeth McCarthy. The shortlisted works are Highway 13 by Fiona McFarlane, published by Allen and Unwin. Host City by David Owen Kelly, published by Puncher and Watman. The Burrow by Melanie Cheng, published by Text Publishing. The Echoes by Evie Wild, published by Vintage. Theory and Practice by Michelle de Kretzer, published by Text Publishing. Woo Woo by Ella Baxter, published by Allen and Unwin. Erin.
And the winner of the Prize for Fiction is Highway 13 by Fiona McFarlane. Unfortunately, Fiona can't be here tonight, so I'd like to invite her publisher, Alex Craig from Allen and Unwin, to the stage to accept the award on her behalf.
Hi everyone. Fiona is in a different time zone, but she asked me to read this speech on her behalf. So good evening everyone. I'm delighted that Highway 13 has received the Victorian Premier's Award for Fiction. It was already an honour to be on the shortlist. My sincere admiration to my fellow nominees. I'm proud to be in your company. When you send a book of short stories out into the world, you're never quite sure what will become of it. I'm grateful this one has brought me to this moment. I only wish I could be there in Melbourne with you all. A huge thank you to the judges. Thanks to Premier Jacinta Allen and to the Government of Victoria, to Creative Victoria and to the Wheeler Centre for your support of Australian writing. Thanks to Jane Polfriman, who helped bring this book into being. Thanks to Alex Craig and everyone at Allen and Unwin, especially Angela Handley and Ali Laveau. Thanks to my family, some of whom are watching tonight and who didn't raise too many eyebrows when I told them I was writing a book about a serial killer. Thanks to Emma Jones, who read every first and fifth and 17th word and draft and made both starting and finishing this book possible. And finally, thanks to Michelle de Kretzer, who is a gift to every reader and writer who knows her and her work, and to whom Highway 13 is dedicated. Thanks once again for this honour. Congratulations to all the other winners, and have a wonderful night. Thank you.
Congratulations again to Fiona, Alan and Unwin, and all the shortlisted authors for the fiction category. And now, the big one, the Grand Royale. So, you know what's happening, right? The winners of the 7 main suite categories are now all in contention in a Hunger Games-like battle for the overall Victorian Prize for Literature, worth an additional $100,000. I feel like early RuPaul. This is the single most valuable literary award in the country. Suck it, Miles Franklin. No. We love the Miles Franklin Award. Previous winners have included Leah Purcell, Sarah Krasnostein, Behrouz Bouchani, Laura Jean Mackay, Veronica Gorry, Jessica Au, and Grace Yee. And it's now my pleasure to welcome one of this year's category conveners, Julianne Negri, to the stage.
Thank you. As a judge of the VPLAs, we have the privilege of being immersed in Australian literature, and we really get to witness the absolute breadth and scope of what's being published. And I'd also like to acknowledge that I did all that reading, the 150 books that I read, on the unceded land of the Wurundjeri people. Now, all the shortlisted books and all the category winners are all exceptional. They're all exceptional works. So when it came to the Hunger Games of deciding the overall Victorian Prize for Literature, we actually didn't come to fisticuffs. There was one book that stood out for all of us. There was one book that transcended its category, that transcended its audience, that even transcended its form and became a work of art that we felt that Australians should appreciate and share, and it was very clear for all of us. So I would like to introduce the Minister for Creative Industries, Colin Brooks, to announce the winner.
Congratulations, all the wonderful writers tonight. The winner of the Victorian Prize for Literature is 3 Dresses, Wanda Gibson.
Now she's going to be bawling her eyes out. Sorry, I got to organise myself. I don't know what to say, but thank God I've written something down. Well, Mum, it's like a letter to you. First of all, I'd like to pay respect to all of you. Every one of you that have written a story, that have written a book. As I said before, that's how we told story, how we passed on our culture and our history, through stories. So congratulations to all of you first. As I said, Mum's a little old lady. Lives in Hopevale. She's a grandma. She's a great-grandma. Her book, and I'm not going to tell you everything, but some of the stories that she told me was every Christmas they would pack their bags and they would walk as the crow flies. I think it was about 20 to 30 Ks. So as a little girl, her and her friends would walk along with my grandfather and grandmother. There was no cars back then. If you were rich enough, you had a horse, but you would walk. And my grandfather used to make, wherever they pulled up, so they'd probably walk about 10 Ks. My grandfather, he would go and strip bark to make what we call a ganya, small saplings. They'd make a little hut, he would put bark over it, and Mum and them would all sleep inside there, make a campfire, and that was the start of their holidays. So that's just part of the story. I'm not going to tell you all of it because you're going to have to buy the book. 3 dresses, and this lady down here has it already. I also would like to thank Victoria for recognising her. Remember, she lives in a community in Cape York, but Victoria recognised her. So hopefully Queensland would see the light and, recognise her as well. But yeah, look, I'm lost for words, and I'm not usually like this, but congratulations again, Mum, and well done to your efforts. Thank you all.
How wonderful is that? And there we have it. The reigning winner of all the categories is a book for young people, which I think is so special, so special. Could I have, if you can, everyone who's won a category award tonight to stand up again, or if you're representing someone who won that award, let's give them another round of applause. Could I get everyone who is shortlisted and highly commended to stand up? Shortlistees, highly commended, please stand up. And if you can stand, everyone who loves reading, please stand up. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. Congratulations to all the winners, the shortlisted, the highly commended authors and their publishers. Thank you to Vivan Vo, DJ Small Fry, who's our DJ tonight. Thank you to our wonderful Auslan interpreters on our live stream and our photographer, Laura May Grogan. Wheeler Centre, do we need all of the winning authors to come up to the stage for a group photo? If the winning authors could just mosey up towards here for a group shot, that would be fantastic. And thank you, Mabu Mabu, for the delicious food, Montalto for the outstanding wine, and to Federation Square for having us here at this beautiful venue, The Edge. Thank you so much for coming here to celebrate Australian writing. Congratulations to all the winners. I'm Benjamin Law. Have a great night.